We'll try. Thank you.
Precise, yeah.
Good afternoon, everybody. You shouldn't be clapping yet because I haven't said anything yet, but we'll get to there. We are going to do some time traveling today, and my topic for today will be automotive and cybersecurity, because a lot of you may not realize how important cybersecurity is for us in the automotive industry. What are we? We are a new energy mobility company. DeLorean used to be a gas-powered car in the 80s. Lots of you people will know that from movies and all the other good stuff. We're retooling the company now as a new energy company. We'll start this vehicle that you see there will be a complete battery electric vehicle. The next one will probably be hydrogen, but we're not talking about that today. But this is who we are today and what we're trying to achieve. What are brand pillars? And this is very important because I'll come back to that very often. Human, connected, that is where the cybersecurity comes in, and creative. We believe that these are our brand pillars, and everything we do in how we develop our cars, our company, our metaverse, our NFTs, our crypto, are all following these three brand pillars where we are today. Why is cybersecurity for us important? If you look at those brand pillars, and I'll give you a very simple example. Over the since 2012, when Tesla came out with the Model S, you have seen that cars have become less and less emotional. They're becoming iPads on wheels. You are being told that going from A to B is a waste of your time. You hit the button, you go autonomous to your home, and you have more time to do more emails and watch YouTube. That's not what we want to do. We bring that human element back into the vehicle. And to do that, you need connectivity. Why wouldn't it be possible for your girlfriend, your wife, your significant other to blow you a kiss while you're driving? That's easy. Technology allows that. Why can't your child give you a hug while you're driving? Not a big deal. Why can't you see the heartbeat of your children in your dashboard? All these things are possible today. So we need to bring that emotion back, and that requires connectivity. And connectivity is hackable, as we all know. So we'll come back to that. Why cars? And this is for everybody. Why are cars so important? Why is cybersecurity so important for cars? And there's a few three-letter acronyms that we all love and that we need to understand a little bit more. V2X is vehicle to everything. And what you're seeing over the last 10 years is that V2X has become almost available in every car. A couple of use cases, your home. When you drive up to your home, you hit that little button, your garage door goes open. Some cars, you drive up to your home and you don't even have to hit the button. So there's connectivity between your vehicle and your home. Another example is consumer apps. For those of you who drive electric vehicles, you have a little app that tells you how much charge you have or how much is in your fuel tank. You can open up the doors, you can open up the windows, you can put an alarm on. So there's connectivity between your app and your vehicle. Then we have data aggregators. Google, awesome example. There's today a little over 30 million cars in the world that have Google as an operating system in their vehicle. Where do you think your data goes when you buy a car? It's not longer yours anymore. Those people suck a lot of data out of how you drive, where you drive, what you drive with, and sell that, repackage it to other companies. So data aggregators are connecting with you and your car. Most times you don't even know it. Businesses direct. You saw that coming up a few years ago with the North American brand. When you drive up to Starbucks, your dashboard will show an ad for Starbucks. When you drive up to McDonald's, your dashboard in your car will start showing up an ad for McDonald's. So there's connectivity there. Near field, Bluetooth, Wi-Fi. There's a lot of connectivity happening that a lot of people don't realize is already there. And then indirect, McDonald's goes to a third party and says, do that for me. So they provide the technology stack, but that creates a whole different world of other cybersecurity issues. That's today. The other thing is V2V, autonomous, vehicle to vehicle. The United States government about 10 years ago had a great plan how to do V2V. A lot of companies bought in. Then they forgot to do the standards and everybody bowed out again. But it's going to come. I think V2V is also very important when we go to full autonomous driving, but that won't happen until we have a ubiquitous 5G network, which we don't do today, because we need that bandwidth to offboard that much data while you're driving. V2I, vehicle to infrastructure. Do you know that the local fire trucks, even here in San Antonio, have a little button that when they come up to a traffic light, they can hit that button and that traffic light turns green? That's V2I, exists today. You can buy those things on Amazon for 95 bucks and get a ticket if you get caught. But it is V2I, is easily hackable, it's available today, and more infrastructure is going to come in that interacts between you and infrastructure around you. Then we have smart grid, V2G, vehicle to grid. Many of the new cars that are coming out, you saw that in the latest Ford F-150 Lightning, you see that in the Lucid Air, can do what they call bidirectional charging. So if your house has no power, you just plug your car into your house and you're good for the next 21 days, as long as you don't run your air conditioner. But vehicle to grid is the next step. So when you have a lot of brownouts, your car will actually be used by your power company, CPS in San Antonio, to take power from your car through your house back into the grid to keep the grid up. A lot of the people today have offers from CPS to allow them to do your thermostat remote. I think they pay you 85 bucks a year to do that. That's going to happen with electric cars too. There's a tremendous amount of power that people have that are just parked in front of their house that your grid provider is going to be very interested in using. So V2G. All these points of connectivity are problematic. They can be hacked, they can be overwritten, and people don't realize that. And that's the scary part of cybersecurity. Now we go a little bit on a time warp. We're back in 2000, not as far as 1980 when the DMC-12 was there, but this was the first time in the industry of automotive that we started getting hacked. You see that little remote on the side of that car? Today, the most hacked vehicle in the US, stolen vehicle in the US, is Kia and Hyundai. Because they tried to save a $6 part in their key fob, and it takes you 90 seconds to steal that car. If you don't know how to do it, you just go to TikTok or you go to YouTube and they'll tell you how to do it. That is today, 2022, on a one-year-old car. That is horrendous, and people take advantage of that. We also had our first satellite solution, OnStar. OnStar was born in the mid-90s, I think it was 94. That was the first time where you could hit a button in your car and somebody would come to help you. Phenomenal, absolutely great. And we started getting satellite navigation in the more higher-end vehicles. Now we're in the 2000s to 2010s. A lot more stuff came up. We have a 3G network. For those old as me, that was like amazing. iPhone 1 was out. I mean, that was a revelation. I still carried a suitcase that was my mobile phone that worked for about 30 minutes before I needed to charge it. All that stuff came out in that time. It's not that old. It really is not that old. 2007 was the first iPhone. I'm very glad to see some younger people in here. You guys don't know anything else, but I still know black and white TVs. That's how old I am. So 2007, first iPhone. We started seeing real-time traffic on OnStar. So in your dashboard, you could actually see where traffic was. All those connectivity points started to come into the vehicle. And with that, cybersecurity became important. And nobody really realized until 2015 why that was important. So now we're in the 2010s and 2016s, and what happened? For the first time in history of automotive, people hacked a North American brand's braking system. You're driving on the road, and you can be hacked. DARPA did that. It was a very good exercise for those of you who remember that. This was headline news. The automotive industry officially entered cybersecurity issues. The first insurance policies were written. Nobody knew what that even meant, cybersecurity. And even today, in many cases, it's still very difficult for people to understand cybersecurity. But we got 4G. We go from 3G to 4G. Our bandwidth quadrupled. It was fantastic how much data we could pump between the vehicle while you were driving. We had live audio streaming. We are starting to see video streaming into the vehicles. Charge time setting. OnStar came with proactive service alerts. So the big databases at General Motors could say, you've been driving your car 12,000 miles. I'm going to push a message into your dashboard that says, you need to change your oil. So we could offboard a lot of technology. So the cars don't need to have those little clocks running in them anymore. We can do that in the cloud, or at that time it was not the cloud, but getting there. The other thing that happened is that you start seeing Alexa coming up in the cars. BMW and Hyundai were the first ones in November of 2016 to get Alexa embedded in the vehicle. So now you can say, hey Alexa, I want my temperature to be 72 degrees. All that technology, it's just a microphone and a microchip in the car. Everything is off-board. If it's off-board, it means you can have man-in-the-middle problems. Because where the data and the technology originates to where the data and the technology is executed, there is a big pathway of problems that you can have. That's called man-in-the-middle attacks. I love those because that's how I can hack. Then what you also got is CarPlay. Android Auto. So the iPhones and the Google Pixel phones are now mature enough that they can start to interact with vehicles. And you can replicate your iPhone into your vehicle, wired, we're not wireless yet, but at least you have a lot of apps and stuff like that that were starting to show up. So now you have another whole ecosystem that comes into the vehicle while you're driving, which is hackable if you don't have correct security. This is not that long ago, guys. This is 7 years ago. This is not that ancient, but it feels ancient today. The other thing that was very important is that you had the first cars that can do remote parking, Mercedes. And they used a lot of technology on board with cameras and measuring it. There was a lot of onboard power in those vehicles. In that age, at the end of 2016, the higher end vehicles had 85, on average, 85 programmable ECUs in the vehicle that all run software in networks to try to make that car work. It's really fascinating to think about that. Now we go up to today. We are in 5G. Well, at least Verizon, T-Mobile, and AT&T try to tell you that we are, but we'll get there in another 5, 6, 10 years. But the bandwidth possibilities of 5G is enormous. So with 5G, we have so much bandwidth between the vehicle and the cloud, because now it is truly the cloud, that you can start taking technology out of the car. You can start pushing it back into the cloud. So the car becomes lighter, simpler, cheaper, faster, better, and all the technology is off-boarded from the vehicles. And that is what you're going to see over the next couple of years. A dumbing down of the vehicle and an increase in technology in the cloud and in off-boarding of cost. What you also start getting is OEMs like myself, like any other OEM, are very interested how you drive. Are you a two-pedal driver, a two-feeder driver? So do you have 2 feet on your gas pedal and 2 feet on your brake pedal? Why is that important? Because your insurance company will increase your premium at 15% because you're a bad driver. They start to see if you accelerate fast or if you decelerate fast. Why is that important? Because your maintenance of your vehicles will be different. And car companies like myself happily sell that data to insurance companies because their risk profiles will tell them that you are a very good driver and you are a very aggressive driver. You'll get a different premium. And this goes very, very far. When you buy a new car nowadays, one of the documents that you sign is like buying a house. You have like 50 documents to sign after you've negotiated 4.5 hours in an office what the price should be. You are tired. You just want to get your car. One of those little forms where you put your signature on electronically basically gives the right to an OEM to your whole digital life that you create in your vehicle. You don't own anything. We own every piece of data of your vehicle, where it was, how you drive, how often you drive, and things like that. People will start waking up on that at a certain moment in time, but right now, you have no rights to any of the data that your car generates, none. So that is kind of interesting for most people to know. What you're now starting to see, in 2016, we had the first automatic traffic signal predictor. Audi was the first one. So you come up to a traffic light, and in your dashboard, you can see if the traffic light that you're going up to is going to be red or green in the next generation with how many seconds. I have one of those clickers from the fire trucks. It's awesome. I never have a red light anymore. But it's really, really scary, because if you think about how many things can go wrong when suddenly a traffic light is turned from green to red, no orange in the middle or no yellow in the middle, that is a very scary proposition. And that technology today is very hackable. There's almost no security on it. But you also start to see that you start to see embedded software way deeper into the vehicle, like Android Auto. Android operating system is now running your vehicle. It's running air conditioning, not just your infotainment system. It's running your windows, it's running your sunroof. It is running a lot of operating things in the vehicle. That's a lot of data that gets exported off-board for somebody else to monetize that data. But it also means man-in-the-middle attacks are becoming more and more important. One of the good things that happened out of BlackBerry, for those of you old enough remember our little BlackBerries with our keyboards, BlackBerry pivoted away from mobile phones, and they are now the 800-pound gorilla in automotive software. And their sister company, Certicom, is the 800-pound gorilla in safety and in security and in cybersecurity for automotive. So BlackBerry started that really, really early. They've been very good at that, and they're today really the number one in the world for security. But there's a constant fight. Android Auto and later Apple OS will try to come into automotive deeper and deeper in the ecosystem of your vehicle, whereas you as an OEM are trying to raise the specter of cybersecurity and making sure that the data is managed in a good way. And more parties to the table means a lot of discussions, a lot of conflicts of interest that you need to work through. Cybersecurity in today's cars is not very easy. Tesla started in October 2020 with what they call self-driving. Self-driving a vehicle on public roads in the US is dangerous at best, outright crazy when you think about it. The earliest technologies of these vehicles used radar, GPS locations, and cameras. I can buy on a Chinese website called Taobao a GPS scrambler, and you have your autopilot on, and I see you veer into the sidewall. That costs me $120 to get you into the sidewall of a car, of the road. Do you really want autonomous driving at the moment? I don't think so. So we are in a very, very interesting discussion now. We're in the Betamax VHS world in autonomous. What technology will win? Is it going to be an auditory or an audible technology with cameras and onboard technology? Or are we offboarding everything and do that in the cloud and let the cars drive there? It'll be well into the next decade before we're truly through that technology route, because it is just too immature at the moment. But it's there, and people are using it, and people are having accidents with it. So very interesting. Honda, phenomenal investor in V2X, smart intersections already in 2018. Toyota, a fantastic investor in this technology. They did the first very shortly spaced vehicle trains that showed to the Department of Transport that you can have massive amount of more vehicles, higher speeds, lower environmental impacts by taking the spaces in between the cars away. Unfortunately, there were no standards, so that was canceled again. But this is where we are last year. So where we're going to, it's a really scary, exciting, and awesome future. First of all, by 2030, there will be more than 40 million cars on the road connected to 5G. And why 4G versus 5G? 4G is simply not allowing enough bandwidth to pump the data needs of a vehicle in motion with online audio streaming and online video streaming. You need 5G. So the benchmark for true connected vehicles is really 5G. But at the same time, if you look at people, a lot of people are scared of being hacked, and they should be. They should be very scared. And you really need to start understanding what cybersecurity you need to have in your vehicle. You should ask that to a sales guy. Have you ever met a sales guy in a car showroom today that could even spell the word cybersecurity? Probably not, because it's not living in their mind. They sell you horsepowers, doors, and brakes, but they really need to start selling you cybersecurity. So ask those questions, it's important. Where we are also is over-the-air updates of vehicles. You buy a car today, and in a year from now, you get another update that makes the car better, faster, more mappings. The US is very liberal. We can basically do whatever the bloody hell we want in good English. But in other places of the world, it's highly regulated. And as a car manufacturer, you don't build a car for one market, you build a global car. So we need to be compliant to all these different legislative things that are happening out there in the world. I think if you look at what 5G, what connectivity, and what cybersecurity is doing for the vehicle industry, it's phenomenal. Unfortunately, the priority for car manufacturers is not always cybersecurity. I think we need to educate the public that they should push us that cybersecurity is important, because it really, really is. Literally, your life might depend on it. So that is coming over the next couple of things. Don't try to read it. It is just for you to see how many different regulatory bodies a car manufacturer needs to deal with to make one car that you can sell in the rest of the world, just when it comes to cybersecurity or to connectivity. The spectra is different. The bandwidth are different. It is really an interesting puzzle to see how can we make one car fully connected to be able to sell that throughout the world. And the answer is you can't. There are too many different competing legislative needs, demands, requirements from different regions of the world. Even between the US and Canada, it can still become a problem, although that is neighbors to each other. But it's very interesting to see how that is. What we do see is that car manufacturers will invest in new technology. Unfortunately, the government first needs to come out with regulations. And today it's very much the other way around. We have awesome tech that we would love to put in a car, but there's no framework under which we can operate that technology into vehicles. So for whoever in the audience is from our regulatory bodies, be faster. You need to be ahead of the curve. You cannot be behind the curve. And today, much of the legislation regarding cybersecurity, regarding connectivity, regarding bandwidth, regarding spectra of where you can operate certain wireless connections is just a decade behind. So they really need to speed up their decision process, or we're just not going to get the cool tech that everybody wants. So how big is this? In an operating car, in a 5G world, with my two kids on the back, playing on their iPad, my wife with her phone, watching TikTok, and me driving, I am running 25 gigabytes of data per hour. 25 gig of data per hour. The only thing I don't know is how many times you breathe in a minute. Everything else, I know what's going on. Your body temperature, your weight, whether you wear your seatbelt, how I drive, everything in that ecosystem of vehicle is generating 25 gigabit of data per hour. That goes back into the cloud. That's why we love 5G. That's why 4G will never work, because that's a lot of data. This is something people don't realize. Most cars post 2010 are connected in some way, and they're generating data. And every time you generate data and offboard it from your car, you can be hacked. Every time you bring data back into the vehicle, you can be hacked. DARPA proved that in 2015 or in 16 when they hacked brakes remotely. So this is the size of the problem we're looking at. It's a very large data set that needs to be protected. So how do we get there from a hardware perspective? We have networks running in a car. Just like here, we have, you see drawings there, we have CAN networks, we have Ethernet networks running in a car. A modern car today has about 3 to 4 Ethernet networks running in parallel. They call it automotive Ethernet. And that used to be 100 base T1s. Today we're in 1,000 T-base T1s, and that's what you have normally in the office. Nowhere enough. We are very, very quickly now moving to a 10 gigabyte T1 network in cars. So automotive will be 10x from what your office is. And this is happening today. 2.5 gig and 5 gig are not ubiquitous yet, but they are becoming very much part of the more high-end vehicles. But we're putting the benchmark now at 10 gigabyte per T1, and we're running at least 4 Ethernet networks in a car as we go to production. So bandwidth and the amount of data, despite the fact that we can offboard more and more local processing power, we need those details in those vehicles. Cybersecurity, super important. Every connector in your vehicle is a potential intrusion point. And that brings me to the end of my presentation. Cybersecurity is an absolute game changer. It is awesome. It is fantastic. It will drive technology improvements. It will drive safety technology. It will drive wireless improvements. But what most people don't realize today is that cybersecurity is game over. When you get hacked and you're on the front page of CNN or the Wall Street Journal that you've lost so many customer data, or your car went into a tree because somebody hacked your vehicle, for a company, that's game over. For a small company, for a medium-sized company, or a big company. So cybersecurity for me, and that's really my biggest message of today, should be your #1 topic before you even start designing anything. Cybersecurity is a game over scenario. So take that to heart. I hope you enjoyed my presentation. If you got any questions, I'll be running around. And thank you for your time.
All right, Jules, that was fantastic.